walk into a kitchen and it's absolute silence, everyone knows what they're doing. This idea that Michelin kitchens are shouty, sweary, physical, like maybe they were like that 20 years ago, but if you walk into a kitchen, like say for a trial shift, and you walk in and it's like that, walk straight back out again, because that's a really badly run kitchen.
There are people that maybe at young age, maybe at old age, what would be your advice if they want to get out and be like, you know what, priorities have changed. I love it, it's great, I like that world, but I can't be doing, 7 days a week or 6 days a week, or, I want to spend time with my family.
You kind of just look at, right, these are the circumstances I'm in, what can I do that's going to best benefit my family? It was just trying to find a way where I can utilize my skills, but maybe in a different kind of setting, in a setting which still values you as a skilled individual. They say the expression like, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And it's like that, I really, really believe in that, because if you enjoy what you do, like before you know it, your shift's finished.
Michael Cruickshank, thank you for being a guest at Hospitality Insights.
You're welcome.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. So you are the head chef Dundee's, which for people that don't know, to me, the way I see Dundee's, I know, I went on the website and I'm like, sure, they're not just coffee shops. They are almost like a boutique place, for finding specially made breads and nicely made desserts and sandwiches that are a bit more like up, a bit higher up than your regular shops that you see every here and there. So from what you've done before, which is Michelin, because that's what we want to kind of talk today, how was the transition to what you do today?
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely a bit of a shock suddenly having evenings off. That was a bit of a shock to start with, but I guess what it's all about really is that there's big similarities in both, because at the end of the day you're trying to create a product that people want to enjoy. At the end of the day, it's but you don't have that sort of be ready for 12, be ready for 6, like service, big team and stuff like that. Sometimes there's maybe like one or two of us, and
it's a bit more on you now.
Yeah, exactly. I think we work in like 1s and 2s in the kitchen and stuff like that. It's a little bit more kind of on your own in the early hours of the morning. It's definitely a bit of a change, going from almost being that restaurant that uses suppliers to almost being the supplier yourself, delivering to people is a bit of a strange turnaround for definitely.
How was before your life? How was before, before you started? How much has it changed? And why did you make this change is probably another question, because I kind of know why. Obviously, usually family gets involved and, you want a different path. You want to have a bit more time with whether children, wives and everything else. I think that might have been the case. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like my wife, she does like shift work as well. So to be fair, we kind of got on pretty well with me being a chef, and she works as a nurse. So we kind of both do those sort of unsociable hours. So that was never an issue. But like since we've got like a 4-year-old now, so having him like kind of, puts a lot of stuff into perspective, and suddenly you want to spend more time. And then obviously you've got like, childcare, looking after them and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff changes your mindset, and suddenly it's not just all about your career, focus on everything for you. I don't mind working 70 hours a week, to the bone, and stuff like that. If it's all just for the greater good and stuff like that, suddenly it's like, well, there's other things you need to worry about as well.
Yeah. Have you ever considered, because before you made the move, one of the questions probably we should probably ask it later, but I feel like it's probably the right time, because when you decided to move from Michelin, like 70 hours, 80 hours a week, have you considered at that point that, instead of like moving to what you do today, which is still a lot of hours, as we talked just before the podcast, for people that, don't know, you still do your hours, but just in a different kind of like way now. You start way early, finish slightly early, not necessarily crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you considered leaving the industry at that point?
And it's a difficult one. I think, it gets to a point where you kind of just look at, right, these are the circumstances I'm in. What can I do that's going to best benefit my family? If that's like, I'll be honest, I did explore other options and see like what other jobs are out there and stuff. But I think when you've been doing something for, I've been chefing for the last 15 years, it's kind of in your blood a bit, it's like, you kind of go like, well, I've got all this knowledge and skill that I've built up over the years. And it almost seems like a bit of a shame to walk away now after all the work that I've put in. And, it was just trying to find a way where I can utilize my skills, but maybe in a different kind of setting, in a setting which still values you as a skilled individual, but they're not got the same requirements that a restaurant does. A restaurant's requires you sort of 23 out of 24 hours a day. Like you need to be there for every service, for every every busy event that's going on and all that kind of stuff. You can't suddenly be like, oh, I need this evening off. And it's just like, people look at you like you're crazy. Like,
I feel like you betraying them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've
out of a
them.
sudden, you are like the biggest enemy of the
Yeah,
kitchen.
exactly. Like, oh, I need these. I can't work Saturday. And then it's just like, what? Saturday's our busiest day. And then, sometimes now I finish at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and I've got the rest of the day with, the wife and stuff like that. And all these sorts of things, and you're kind of walking around town and you feel like a bit of an imposter because you've spent the whole of your life like being like sort of chained to a stove in a hot kitchen, that time. And I was the first couple of months I moved, I was kind of looking at my watch going like, I should be in the middle of lunch service right now. Like, what's going on? And thinking about all my friends that are still working at the stove and stuff like that. And it's it took a little bit of getting used to, that's for sure.
Do you miss it? Like, I mean, because it's still you're still in the kitchen, but
I mean, like
different environment.
I'd say like I'm a bit of a student of the industry. Like, I'm one of those people that you'll catch them on YouTube watching a video from a restaurant that's like in France or Italy or something like that, just to see what they do. Because I'm always buying books about this, that, the other. So it was a job, but also a passion at the same time. It was like, I would go to work and, they say the expression like, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And it's like that. I really, really believe in that, because if you enjoy what you do, like before you know it, your shift's finished. Like, I just think, when you sat there watching a clock, waiting for the day to finish and stuff like that, it must be the worst thing in the world.
No, absolutely, yeah. And I remember, because I can kind of relate to that, because I remember when I left the industry and I'm like, I'm just doing like 35, 40 hours a week. This is nothing. Like, what's going on? Exactly like you.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do with my time now? I just need to find something to kind of like fill up that gap. Because, it's a lot of hours. And, when I hear people saying, oh, I'm overworked with like 40 hours, I'm like, no, you've not seen hard work in your life.
I just stay quiet and let them speak.
I
don't want to open that can of worms when people start talking about their 9 to 5 jobs and stuff like that. I think if they did a couple of weeks in a high end, fast paced kitchen, I think they need a holiday afterwards. But I think you just acclimatize to it. Like, I'd been working in kitchens since I was 16 years old, so. So yeah, it's kind of like you kind of just get used to it, I guess. You don't really know any different. And I've only ever had a job in hospitality, so that's.
How do you think the experience, in the Michelin star place, where everything needs to be perfect, everything needs to be, consistency is like the crazy thing. Mm-hmm. How do you think that helped you in what you do today? Because as I said, you guys are not the regular, coffee shop. You are definitely, at the top end, of the scale. How that help you, with what you do today? Do you think that helped you at all, or do you just?
Yeah, definitely. I've been like, obviously working in Michelin, attention to detail and consistency is key. If a guest comes in for a meal on a Monday or on a Friday and they order the beef, or for example, like they expect the same dish they had on the Monday as they had on the Friday, and we just apply exactly the same principles to what we do now. And at Dandy, it's if someone comes in and has a piece of banana bread or a cookie or a loaf of sourdough, it's like, I expect that person to be able to come Monday to Saturday, have a loaf of sourdough every day and have the same bread. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. If you're running a burger van, people come for their burger and they want it to be the same as they had it last week. I think consistency is one of those things that's just relevant across the whole of hospitality. And to be fair, across the whole like work as well. Like if you have an office job and you like need deadlines, you know, people's expecting consistently to deliver what they expect you to do, and that's it. You know, that's why, you know, we get to call ourselves professionals, because, you know, we're meant to be good at it, I guess. But
no, absolutely. And I think, as you mentioned, you know, it's a skill that's almost transferable, because, okay, I know you do food, or you do, you know, you work on a project, which is, let's say, with a bank. You still need to have some sort of level of consistency and be proud of what you do.
And attention to detail as well, because
it's
the little details that make the big difference, you know, and that's what can set you apart from either your colleagues or people you're working with and stuff like that. You know, is if you're the one that notices all the small details, that's how you sort of slowly climb the ladder in kitchens, especially at Michelin. You know, I always I always took it as like, if you're not getting shouted at, it means you're doing a really good job. I
think it was exactly the same that what V said.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not saying anything, that means you're doing fine.
If you walk into a kitchen and it's absolute silence, everyone knows what they're doing. Like this idea that Michelin kitchens are shouty, sweary, physical, like maybe they were like that 20 years ago, but if you walk into a kitchen, like say for a trial shift, and you walk in and it's like that, walk straight back out again, because that's a really badly run kitchen. I remember, you know, working at Bohemia, and there we would be in a Saturday night service, 60 covers and silence. The only person speaking is the head chef. Absolute silence. You just hear people's like tweezers pinging off.
Do you think it comes from the top then?
For sure. Like I think you set that bar at the top, and everyone's just trying to get to where you are, basically, and you set the example. You know, like, you know, when you've got that senior people in the team, you know, the junior members of staff look up to them, and there's a slight, you need to have that little bit of fear, but not to the point where it's like crippling. You know, you want someone to be like on edge, but good energy, you know, like you need to be up for it. Because, you know, if you start, you know, slacking or like getting a bit tired, it just catches you straight away.
What do you think attracted you to this? You know, because for some people it's like, well, I like the perfection of it, you know, I like almost the regimented, you know, way of working, you know, where everybody knows what they have to do. Everybody's a professional, you know, you all feel like you're at the top of the tree, because, like, for example, Bohemia is the only place that has a Michelin star at this point. Okay, before we had a few more, but you can tell how hard it is to keep it for a long period of time, like they did, like 20-something years, I think, right?
I think this year was 20 years.
20 years. That's a long time to kind of like go through. And it's not just, because I think outside of, okay, we kind of know it. I work a bit, you know, in a Michelin star place, you work for a lot more. I think what most people don't know, it's not just about earning the star. It's actually probably the biggest challenge is keeping it for that long, because that's a constant kind of like battle.
I don't know. You obviously, like we just mentioned, you know, Bohemia kept the star. It was 20 years since they were awarded it, but that's not 20 years they've had a star. That's 20 times they've won a star.
Exactly.
That's the best way to look at it. You know, like, because you win the star for the year you've just done, not the year to come. So it's like, as soon as you win the star, you might as well just take the star, throw it in the bin, and just start again, because that's when you start. And I think there's so many chefs that, you know, you see, even just the Michelin Guide just gone, I think it was just last week. You know, you see places getting 2-star, 3-star, 1-star, but there's plenty of restaurants that lose the stars as well. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to get it. And a lot of the time people are a bit surprised they've lost them and stuff like that. So, you know, it's always important to, you know, reset, go again, and, you know, never take it for granted, I don't think. And obviously Bohemia for 20 years have done that, I think.
What do you think happened, you know, in Jersey? I mean, as far as you know, and, you know, to the knowledge you have, because I think your career, if I'm not wrong, is split between the UK and here, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what do you think happened here in Jersey, to the best of your knowledge, obviously, that we just ended up with one Michelin star place?
I think a lot of it's circumstance. I think, you know, you've got 3 restaurants that used to have stars. So you used to have one at the Grand, you used to have one at the Atlantic, and you used to have one Orma, which is Samphire now. A lot of that was chefs leaving. I think the head chef at the Grand left. Mark Jordan left the Atlantic, and obviously Sean Rankin left Orma. And a lot of that can be circumstance. I don't think it was like anywhere got particularly like bad where they lost it. I think it was just a lot of things happened around the same time.
Do you think like a head chef leaving a kitchen, that's been run by a head chef obviously for a period of time, and winning these awards and everything else is destabilizing completely like what's kind of like left behind?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you could liken it to a really great football manager suddenly leaves a club, and then that club goes into like disarray. There's like people don't know what they're doing, they don't have the leadership, they don't have the ideas, they don't and that can make the difference, because you're talking about fine margins. It can be one inspection or this or that, or even just someone's inspiration, like how they come up with ideas for dishes. Like everyone's different. Someone might be a genius with coming up with dishes, but not a genius in other areas or stuff like that, and trying to pull it all together as well. Like you've got the front of house team, you don't know how that's been affected as well, because the service is part of the whole package. When you're going for those top accolades, you very rarely go to a high-end restaurant and like they just throw the food down and walk away. It's all part of the show and stuff like that. So there's lots of factors that could influence it. So without obviously personally knowing what happened, in all these restaurants, it's hard to say, but it could be a factor of a lot of things.
Do you think Michelin star restaurants, or even Rosette restaurants, they have like 3 or 4, they're kind of equal to a star, you can say? Do you think that are overrated? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I think Michelin and Rosettes, I think they're always a good indication of like, if you go to a place where you've never been before, like you go to a European city and you don't know where to eat, I think going off Michelin stars, if you obviously want high end food, I mean, not everybody wants to eat in those places, but is always good to like give you a baseline of where you think you should maybe go try and stuff like that, because you can go to places you've never been before and stuff like that. And these often you get recommendations, you get places that have stars, Bib Gourmands, all these sorts of things. So you've got different levels of that, like
green stars apparently.
Green stars, which is like ethical restaurants, which like like don't use a lot of wastage and all these sorts of things. So it kind of like you can tick all the boxes depending on what you're looking for. But I think it's always like the Michelin Guide is always a good like sort of star. Standard. I mean, like if I go to a European city I've never been to, I look on the app and go like, do you
seek these kind of places like to see what's different, comparing to other? Do you do it yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you look like, oh, I'm staying in this place. What's nearby? Oh, there's a really good place. It's not got a star. It's not got a Bib Gourmand, but it's in the guidebook. Like they've been there and they think it's decent. Why not give it a go and stuff like that? I mean, like
it's a trust basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they've built a level of trust like from people that know about it to go like, well, they're not going to recommend a place like I saw in Jersey, they just recommended Pecci and Awabi. Now, like those are good restaurants. So, like I look at it and go, well, if they're recommending those in Jersey, well, they must be getting it right in other cities and stuff like that.
So using this judgment, just
exactly. So
like you've been there, you've seen how it is.
Yeah,
exactly. Is it worth it or not? So if they do it, then you kind of know that okay, they're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can just see the respect they get from the hospitality industry in general. That you can I think you can trust them at this point. They've been doing it a while. So.
Is it worth it, all that effort? Because some chefs, put all their life into it. Do you think it's worth it? Because some chefs, they chase it for their entire life and they never get it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that I think chasing it for your entire life, where like you wake up every single morning and it's all you think about, is maybe a little bit extreme. I think you should maybe dial it back and go like, do I actually love cooking first, and then hope that whatever you produce is going to get that. But then at the same time, I think there's no shame in creating amazing food that you got a full restaurant every day and all your customers love it. That's almost should be as good, because you can have a great restaurant, but a great restaurant that makes no money is a closed restaurant. it doesn't matter how good your food is, but if no one comes and sits down and pays for your food, you'll be closed, and then you'll be sat at home wondering what happened, and you'll have no star and no restaurant. So I think you need to get, a busy restaurant first, make sure everything's running properly, and then just hope that the end product of that is maybe someone comes along and says it's worth a star or two.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like known now, not that I've seen the balance sheet or, the books of Michelin star places, but they're kind of know that they don't really make money because they need a lot of stuff. They need expensive ingredients, finding that balance between price and, and getting customers in. It's difficult. It really is. And I think most of the ones that actually make it is probably another reason. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to minimize their efforts and everything else, but Bohemia having the hotel behind them is definitely a good thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I've kind of done it, my Michelin sort of experience kind of spans both spectrums. I got work at the last place, obviously, I worked was Bohemia. You got a big, 4-star hotel behind it. You've got all the banqueting, you've got the rooms and stuff like that, all generating money, which kind of funnels into a central place. And, it's like, oh, well, the restaurant lost money
overall.
The restaurant lost money this month, but it's not going to close, and stuff like that. You've got other factors helping you. And then comparing that to like the first Michelin star restaurant I worked in was a husband and wife team on a high street in Dorchester in Dorset, had a bus stop in front of it. She worked front of house. He was the head chef, like completely self-funded. We had 14 covers like in the restaurant. It was like literally like a little shop they turned into a restaurant. They ran that for 12 years. Thankfully, I managed to get in for the last year and a half they were open. And yeah, they basically, it was like if the toilet breaks, the head chef would be in there like with his wrench out trying to fix it, or if there was a problem with the stove, he'd be like underneath the stove trying to fix it, because they were just like, you can't spend money on stuff if you don't have to. And that was really like an eye opener into like what it actually takes to open a like sort of your own restaurant in a sense, like, no backing, no.
But have you ever thought about that, or that kind of put you off?
It didn't put me off. It made me quite aware of what it takes to do it. And Russell, who's the head chef there, like we're still great friends now, and we keep in contact and stuff like that. And he definitely gave us like a good insight into what it takes and stuff. And it was a busy restaurant. We had lots of people coming from London down to, and that's what the Michelin star kind of does, because Dorset as a whole and
is a reason to travel as well.
Yeah, and Dorchester is not really a foodie destination. I mean, like, I think on the street we had like a Weatherspoons and
they were more of a destination.
So, probably more people in the Weatherspoons, but getting the cheap pints and stuff. But yeah, that was great, and it was a really great learning experience, because that was my first experience of working in Michelin, and it was just me, one other chef, and the head chef in the kitchen, just three of us in there, and you kind of got maybe, I don't want to say too much responsibility, but like you kind of got like, you're doing this.
You've done a bit of everything, because of a small team.
Yeah, exactly. There was nowhere to hide. We couldn't have passengers like, oh, the two of us will do it while the other person doesn't really do much. It was like, you were all in there and stuff like that. I remember the head chef would be like, "Oh, go on your break," and like we'd literally just go around the corner and wait until he left, and then go back in the kitchen again, because we were just like so in the weeds and stuff like that we had to get back in there. And he'd come back after his split and be like, "You guys are already in here. The stoves are on." Like, he was like, "Yeah, we just got back just now," and stuff like that. We've been in there for like 2 hours, like prepping and stuff like that. But I think he knew really, but he just let us do it. So.
But then, so no intentions, of opening or a restaurant or anything in mind?
I don't think restaurant wise or anything like that. I think I've always I've really got the bug now for like bakery work and stuff like that. I think like working with bread and stuff like that is.
Did you discover this passion since you started your new job, or was something that you?
I was always like interested in bread, but I never really understood the fine details of it and stuff like that. I feel like bread is so like such a hands-on profession. Like until you've got like dough stuck to your arm and like you're trying to like wrestle with this like.
It's
big,
so rewarding. I don't know how you feel it, but and I'm not a good baker. I make bread just by the way I kind of like feel on the day.
Yeah.
So, but it's so rewarding. Like bread, it rises, you know, and you're like, oh, I've done something right. And then, you know, it's like, oh, now it's going in the oven. I hope it works like, you know, the way I feel it does. And when it comes out, oh my God, everybody loves it. Or maybe not, but in most situations they do. So I think it's so rewarding, bread.
I feel like, you know, bread's one of those things that's just like sort of across the board. It kind of like levels everyone. You know, I think people that have no idea about food know good bread. You know, like bread and butter to someone who, you know, they're not a foodie, they don't go to restaurants, whatever, you know, like really nice warm bread with some butter is, you know, you can please anyone with that.
I use it as a trick, as you know, a starter. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do a starter, so bread, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, butter, boom, you know, and people are like, oh my God, you know.
And if you tell people you made the bread as well, that takes it to a new level.
Yeah, this is it. And it's quite obvious sometimes, you know, well, most of the time it's quite obvious, because if let's say you go into you buy from the major bakeries, you know, it has nothing to do with the real taste. We all know
definitely. I think that's something I've noticed more now is like when you bake real bread and you taste real bread, suddenly you go to the supermarket and you buy like a generic white loaf of bread. It's like, this is like literally air. Like it tastes nothing. It's like, this is basically, it looks like bread, but doesn't taste the bread. Like, you know, it's uniform. It's pretty, it's at a price point where, you know, obviously people can afford it, you know, but it's just like something to fill your stomach. There's no enjoyment in it. There's no pleasure, you know? And, I think it's one of those things that once you get kind of I'd say like you almost get spoiled by good bread. It's very difficult to go back again. You kind of go like, you're always like searching out what's the local bakery and what they're doing and stuff like that. I'd always much rather go to like, if I went to like a new town or something like that, I'd much rather go to like the, you know, the old guy that's been working in his bakery for 40 years making loaves of bread, rather than go to the supermarket and just buy like a white loaf or something like that, you know.
I have so much respect for you guys and for people that make bread from scratch, and especially because you guys do sourdough, even more work. Because I've done a video with like a while back with Ford Bakery.
Yeah.
So I was there from like early morning, and I think, did I do something in the evening? I can't remember anyway, but just filming that and seeing the process behind it, you know, how long it takes, you know, and it's a lot more effort, you know, with yeast. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with, most of mine I do it with yeast. I don't go through the whole process, to be completely honest.
No, we do yeasted breads as well, you know, but everything's got its place.
The sourdough, I'm like, man, there's so much work. You know, this should be more expensive than it is.
It was funny, actually. Before I started at Dandy, I'd never made sourdough before, like, which is like mental to think of now.
I've done once and I gave up right after.
I think, I felt like doing that actually when I started, to be honest. I was like, what have I kind of got myself into? Because it's one of those processes that you follow all the steps. You put the bread in the fridge, you come the next day, you put it in the oven, you're like, right, I've done everything. You open the oven, disaster. And you're like, the worst thing you can do with sourdough is Google what's wrong with it, because it will give you, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this.
And it's not a fast way of recovering, you know, with yeast. Okay, even with yeast, it's a bit of a long process, but with sourdough, it's gone.
Well, I'd say from the point you mix your flour and water to going in the fridge, you're talking about like 5 hours of mixing, folding, shaping. And then our bread usually gets about 12 hours in the fridge before then we bake it the next day. So, you know, you're waiting a good like sort of, you know, 20 hours before you even know if you've done a good job or not. So you go into bed at night, like sleeping, like going like, oh God, my alarm's going to go off. And then I have to find out if I've done a good job or not. And just like you in a kitchen at like, you know, whatever time in the morning and stuff like that. And I think there was a few choice words screamed at ovens like in the beginning, that's for sure. But thankfully we're on a better keel now. It was a fast learning curve, but we got there in the end. So
yeah, that's cool. So I done a bit of my research. I mean, as much as, because for people that watch or listen to the podcast, we've not met before, so it's a bit complicated. You know, when we have a few text messages or conversations like that, and just trying to put together a longer conversation like a podcast. So I done a bit of my research. So I found that you've done quite a few competitions.
Yeah, definitely.
So who impressed you the most? Because you met all sorts of like big chefs. You know, who was the guy that you were like, man, this is just something else?
I mean, like, there's been quite a few actually, to be honest. Obviously, the Roux scholarship I did for, I think I did it 7 or 8 years in a row. So it was pretty big part of my life for pretty much most of my career. I only stopped because I went over the age limit that you could enter it. To be honest, maybe I'd still be doing it now, but they'd have to like kick me out. But you got like Michel Roux Jr., 2-star Michelin, Alan Roux, 3-star Michelin, Sat Baines, Andrew Fairley, before he died, sadly. And yeah, lots of Michelin star chefs. And then I was lucky enough to get to the final 6 twice. We'd always have like a guest judge for the final. So we had Peter Gilmore from Australia came over. He's so in Australia they've got like a hat system instead of Michelin, so they don't have Michelin in Australia. So they have like 1, 2, 3 hats. So he has a 3-hat restaurant there, which is I think a lot of people kind of like put it up there with like a 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurant equivalent, but a very high level restaurant. He came over and judged one year, and then the other year was Sofiane Pic, who's got a 3-star restaurant in. She's got a 3-star restaurant in France, 2-star restaurant in London. So yeah, she knows what she's doing. She's very nice people actually. They're kind of very scary, intimidating when you first meet them, and you're like kind of shaking. Putting your
But
hand
is
up
this
stuff,
still
but
going because Le Gavroche is closed now? Is it still going?
Yeah, still going. I think I'm pretty sure this year is their 40th anniversary. I think of running the competition. So they should be announcing the names, I think, soon, which is always exciting. So
do you still keep them?
Yeah,
keep an eye on it.
I always keep an eye on it because there's a couple of people I know who I've entered with over the years who, luckily for them, they were a bit younger than me, so they're still doing it and stuff like that. So I always look out to see. There's a few names to look out for, and send a couple of messages saying good luck and stuff like that to people. But yeah, there's some. I've competed with some great chefs there. You've got Luke Selby, who won one of the years I was in the final. He won that year. He's head, I think, executive head chef at the Manoir now, so 2-star Michelin.
Wow.
Under Raymond Blanc. He's an absolute machine, that guy. I actually don't know if he's a robot or not, but he just basically wins every competition he enters. So yeah, he's a pretty good chef and stuff. And seeing those people like in the flesh and then seeing their careers develop and stuff like that, it's kind of quite cool to have been part of a little bit of it, I think.
How detrimental do you think is now, because you've kind of been around the Roux family, how detrimental do you think is the closure of Le Gavroche for the fine dining industry, especially in the UK or maybe even in the world, because they are huge.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big loss and stuff like that. I think Le Gavroche was, I'm sure there's loads of chefs that have gone through those kitchens and stuff like that. But I think when all these top chefs were training at Le Gavroche, there wasn't a lot of options for like great restaurants in the UK. Like Le Gavroche was, I think, the first 1-star, the first 2-star, and the first 3-star restaurant in the UK. So you can imagine at that time like how few like really good restaurants there were. And whereas now you've got like 1, 2, 3 stars all over the UK everywhere. So I think there's a lot more options for young chefs to go and learn their trade. So it's obviously a great loss because it's an institution, but I don't feel like it's going to affect the training of young chefs because, like I said, there's so many places to learn like really great food.
Yeah, there are many more options at this point,
definitely.
I guess, right? Yeah. So, but you being through all this journey, competitions, starting quite young. What would be your advice for someone that wants to get into these to a high level?
Just knock on a door.
Just do it.
Someone will take you in. I've kind of seen people kind of approach it all in different ways. I've seen people come straight from college into Michelin. I think personally, it's a very hard way to do it that way because you're gonna get shouted at a lot because your base level skills are quite like poor at that stage.
Theory and practice.
Filleting a flatfish at college with 2 hours to do it is big different to someone giving you like 25 flatfish and like it needs to be ready in 20 minutes. Let's go, and they've all got to be perfect. And it's a completely different mindset and stuff, but I came from a 2 rosette restaurant, which I worked at for 3 years before I then moved to Michelin. I felt like, at that, I mean, like 2 rosette's still a good standard and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, like, but at that standard, you're probably going to be given more responsibility sooner, because the emphasis isn't like, obviously you need to do a good job and you're not going to give people rubbish food at that level. But like, at working at that level at like, 18, 19, 20, I was like doing the sauce section, running the sauce section, running the larder, and like actually having people beneath me to sort of like organize and stuff like that, running the garnish, going and doing banqueting for 6 months and all these sorts of things, because it was in a big country house hotel. And then going from that to work in Michelin, you've butchered some meat, you've prepped some fish, you've made sauces. Okay, you might not have made sauces to that level, but you've got a sort of a base to work from. You're not just like deer in the headlights. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to learn on the job. And
it's a bit more of like a soft landing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives you a little bit more about you as well, because you kind of a little bit kitchen hardened. Although it's not at the same level to Rosette to Michelin, it's you still put a shift
Principles
in.
apply.
You still got those hours in your legs, and you're not going to be like do the first week of like whatever 78 hours and then collapse on the floor and stuff like that. You kind of got a little bit about you by that point, and hopefully that can then mean that you can progress a little bit quicker once you get into Michelin, because it can take a while to move up the ranks if you're starting from like absolutely at the bottom.
But for someone, for people, because I hear story and I know stories. People getting to an age, but you kind of got out of that world, at young age. But there are people that maybe at young age, maybe at old age. What would be your advice if they want to get out and be like, you know what? The priorities have changed. I love it. It's great. I like that world, but I can't be doing, 7 days a week or 6 days a week, or, I want to spend time with my family. What would be your advice on that in that area? Because you are out now.
Yeah, I think it's just about like kind of understanding that hospitality is a very broad spectrum. I mean, when people say hospitality, they just think restaurants. You've got, catering for, like my brother-in-law is a chef as well. He works in a care home. He does, whatever hours, and he works in the care home, but they don't work weekends, and they don't work evenings, and that works for him, or you got, working in schools, corporate catering, where you just do events, like what I'm doing, like working in bakeries, and then also you got your restaurant stuff as well. But then you've got different levels of restaurants. You got restaurants that only do breakfast or lunch or brunch places and stuff like that. So, there's actually a lot of things to explore before you just go, I'm getting out. I always think it's a shame, especially in the industry at the moment with the sort of skill shortage, to have all these chefs with, 5, 10, 15, 20 years experience just leaving the industry.
And starting from scratch.
Because they've got a lot to give to the new people moving into the industry. And then what happens is you have a lot of people with a lot less experience trying to teach people, and it sort of doesn't work, because you've lost all this experience out of the industry, which people should be like trying to put back into it.
Is there something that can be done to make this industry maybe more attractive? Not necessarily by looking, to move on the side, moving into the other, places where hours are a bit more relaxed. Do you think there's something that can come maybe from head chefs, maybe from restaurant owners, maybe from people that have a bit more power, to change things? Do you think there's something can be done to make it more attractive?
To be fair, I think a lot has been done already, to be honest. I mean, like, I'm just looking at like over the last 10 years. I mean, like, I think hours have got better. Hours have got better, pay's got better, more holiday, HR departments, they didn't exist 10 years ago. It was like, just sort of fight it out outside, and then whoever comes back in wins, sort of thing, and stuff like that. So I think a lot of stuff, got better. I think you're always going to compare it to, when you hear stories about, this person works in this office and they all get beers on a Friday, and it's like, they can just work from home whenever they want, and, and all kind of stuff. But I think people just need to, whatever job you do, if you want to be good at it, you're going to have to work hard at some point. Like, it doesn't matter, like, whatever you're doing. Like, if you want to be a great chef, you have to put the hours in. You have to put the time in for the learning, the skills, the physical skills that you need to do it. And it just comes down to like, do you want to be good at it, or do you want to be kind of like one of the pack, you know? And if you want to be good at something and deliver something at a high level, and you know, be able to go home and be proud of what you do, you're gonna have to put in the work. There's no easy way to the top, you know, in whatever you do. I mean, like you look at like Jersey's obviously got a big financial district and stuff like that. You think the people that are running these companies didn't work hard at some point, right? You know, like they've put in the shift. They probably work as many hours as chefs do and stuff like that. I mean, like, but you know, if you want to it's just about putting yourself in an industry that you're passionate about, and then just, you know, work as hard as you want to work, and you'll get the rewards from it. You know, that's all you can do, really.
But in terms of the current role, what are the biggest challenges you're facing at this point?
I think staffing's always difficult. That always seems to be a bit of a tricky one. I mean, like trying to explain to someone that they might have to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to be able to work at 4 is always a bit of a sticking point when you get to an interview with someone. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, staffing's always difficult. You know, sometimes supply is difficult in Jersey. You know, like it just takes like the boats to not come in for like a couple of days, and then suddenly everyone's scrambling around trying to get produce and stuff like that. You know, like for us, it's just trying to, you know, make sure that we're getting a good deal on everything that we're working with. That's always the challenge. Obviously, we use a lot of flour. You know, we're probably using like almost half a ton of flour a week at the moment across like all our products that we make. So you know, like making sure like every bag of flour is like, you know, trying to get the best deal and stuff like that is always a bit of a struggle. But you know, we move with it and try and get the best deal.
But are you having challenges because, okay, flour is one thing that you use a lot, but you're still not a huge company. Is that affecting you to a degree because you don't have probably the purchasing power that Randall's has, for example?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, we're nowhere near that sort of level. I mean, like, we sometimes get suppliers phoning us up saying we've not ordered enough stuff with them, you know, like, and like, is there a problem or something like that, you know, sometimes. But, you know, I think we you know, we use lots of different suppliers for like specific things. You know, if we feel like one person does something better than someone else, we'll always go for quality over like, you know, we like this person more than this person. And so it's always purely like who's got the best product at the best price, and we'll just like go with that. That's we don't have like, oh, we use this company for everything because they can give us a better deal on everything. It's like, you know, if this company does the best price on flour, we'll buy it from there. If it, you know, if we get this flour from this person, like we use different suppliers for different types of things because everyone's got different stuff in their stock.
And also the quality, you know, be
yeah,
different.
Exactly. And, you know, consistency. If I ask for this product at this time, they're always going to have it in stock, and you build up that relationship. You know, I've got a good relationship with the people at most of the suppliers we use from obviously my time working at Bohemia. We use a lot of the same suppliers, so you recognize the voices on the phone and stuff like that, and they're always happy when you call them. I think it's just because you're spending money, but but they're all very friendly and stuff. So.
Our prices now becoming like really, really challenging, you know, for you to handle and making, you know, a product that's good quality, but also you know, kind of affordable.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always tricky because you don't want to like price people out of buying the product at the end. But I think a lot of the time when people come in and they go like, oh, why is my sandwich 50p more expensive than it was last month or the month before? That's just us like passing on like how much the products cost for us. You know, that by the time we've got staffing, paid all the utilities, you know, all these sorts of things and produced the product, you know, we're just kind of like trying to make money at our end. And, you know, it's kind of a bit of an ecosystem, really, you know, like if, you know, at the end of it, you've got the person buying the products and hopefully enjoying it. And I think if you've gone to the trouble to seek out somewhere that has high quality stuff, I think you're kind of paying for what you get at the end of the day. You know, like you could go to, you know, maybe somewhere that, you know, doesn't care as much about the quality of their ingredients, and you'll pay a price that's relevant to that. And, you know, thankfully, a lot of our customers, you know, they care about where their food comes from. They, you know, all our flour is organic. Like they, you know, we obviously bake everything fresh in-house every day. So, you know, people like that. They like the coffee, you know, and all these kind of things. So people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, appreciate that. They would spend a bit more knowing that the quality is there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, everyone's got those sort of non-negotiables that they'll always spend money on no matter what happens, you know. A lot of people, it's coffee, you know, like a lot of people are like they go to the same coffee shop every day for the same coffee because they like it and it's just part of their routine and stuff like that. So we hope that when they come for their coffee, they might buy like a chocolate brownie or a cinnamon bun or something like that. And
All those add-ons.
yeah, January's not been great because everyone's been on a diet and going to the gym. So, so it's not great for bakeries. January, I find that we're trying to lure people back out the gyms and buy cinnamon buns and stuff like that. It's quite difficult, but
Yeah, I guess slowly it's kind of like getting there.
yeah.
But in terms of plans, is there a plan to expand on it? From what you can share, obviously, is there a plan of expanding? Because you guys, you have 2 locations.
Yeah, so we have two shops. So we've got one up at Columbia Court, like a little precinct, and then we've got one down at Conway Street by the Lloyd's Bank, sort of like down that street there. And then we've got the bakery, which is like a kind of production kitchen that we make everything from and then send stuff out to the shops from there. Thankfully, one of the shops is only just across the road, but the other one we kind of like carry it through town to try and get there, or like put it in the back of cars and stuff. It's all a bit of a challenge really with stuff like that. But yeah, I think our plans definitely are to hopefully expand, move to a bigger kitchen space. I don't know necessarily about expanding the shops, but expanding kitchen wise for sure. I mean, like we're pretty tight where we are, like at the moment.
Yeah, I can see. It's tiny.
Yeah, so we're kind of running at capacity. I mean, like I think at Christmas time we baked like 140 loaves of sourdough. Out of two little deck ovens. So it's quite a challenge, really. I mean, like a lot of the logistics come with the space rather than the product. I mean, like we can make as much product as we want, but it's like, well, how are we going to bake it? How are we going to store it? How are we going to get it to people? Is always these challenges and stuff. And that's actually what I enjoy quite a lot about my new role at Dandy is like, you've got all these new problems to solve that aren't restaurant related, and it kind of almost like wakes you up a little bit and gets the sort of thoughts going and stuff like that. And like, how are we going to solve this problem to get this result? And like challenges every day, which is great.
Yeah, amazing. For people that want to find more about you, get in touch with you, where are you most active? On social.
Probably Instagram is the easiest one. So it's just Cruickshank Michael 92 is my handle on there. Lots of pictures of bread.
Well,
if you like pictures of nice bread, then there's plenty of pictures of there. And then obviously Dandy have their own Instagram, which I think is just Dandy Coffee Shop. And they're always posting like, what we've got in the shop that day, specials. We have like a sort of like daily changing sandwich menu. So we always try and keep that fresh, putting stuff on at the moment. We've got, we're doing like a roast dinner and a wrap at the moment. Which is great for winter and stuff like that, with a little pot of gravy on the side for people to pour on it. So we're kind of like trying think slightly outside the box with our food offering. Like we have our classics, but then also we'll try and like be a bit fun with stuff. Like we did like a cheeseburger in a wrap before, and all these sorts of things. And we just try and keep it a bit fun, keep people interested and stuff like that. It's not just your usual like ham and cheese sandwich and stuff like that. So
yeah, you got to separate yourself from the crowd, I guess.
Yeah.
And you guys, when you charge slightly more, which for a good reason, because as we mentioned, organic flour, a bit more care, like just your experience, having like how many coffee shops can say that they have a chef that has a Michelin star background and it works, not many, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think even that, and all the care that goes into it.
Well, there's actually 2 of us in the kitchen, and we both used to work we both used to work in restaurants. So I think we both have the same idea that we didn't want to work in restaurants anymore. So I think so we've both got that sort of background and stuff, which is great. So putting ideas together and stuff like that, it's always fun. And once you get over the early starts, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. I think the alarm goes off in the morning now a lot easier than it used to. So
you're still looking for more people. Is that the plan? Do you need more staff at this point?
Yeah, we're always looking to add, people that have got something they want to offer, and we'll always look and see if we can fit people in, if we feel like they're the right fit for the business and stuff. I think at the moment it's just, trying to find those individuals that are like passionate and they want to do the work. I mean, like if you love bread, then it's like the perfect job because if you love bread and sandwiches and all that kind of stuff, it's even better. So, yeah,
pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, it's probably not long, and the alarm is ringing.
Yeah,
for you.
exactly.
So
I better get to bed now.
I better let you go to bed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.